Okay. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of CSSE 230 for winter 2020-2021. In this video, we're going to be walking you through how to accept the invitation for a GitHub assignment, and then how you can use that in Eclipse and IntelliJ, and hopefully you can use that to, if you use a different IDE, you can use that to build on top of it and do that accordingly. So let's go ahead and get started. Now on week one, the week one class material, you're going to see programming assignment, a new label showing up there before the actual content of the week. And here there's a link you must be clicking. For me, I'm going to have to switch to a different browser because I'm going to use a different GitHub account. I already copied the address, so I'm just going to put that in here, wait for it to load, and it should show up soon. Okay, so you're going to see that you're going to be redirected to a page called GitHub Classroom. You're not going to see this. This is because I've already been playing around with this for a while. So I already accepted the assignment, but I deleted my submission. So I'm just going to say re-accept. And once you do that, you're going to first be asked to join the CSSE 230 classroom. This is our classroom that we're going to be using for all of our assignments. So you basically just have to do this step once. And the first thing I want you to do is to link the email address or the identifier for your account. So in case you're not using your Rose-Hulman email, so this allows me to link your Rose-Hulman ID to your GitHub username in case those two are different, so we can grade you accordingly. For me, I'm not going to do that, but basically this just asks you to just click the correct identifier and fix that. So please make sure you select the one for your own account. So I'm going to skip this step, and this is going to tell me, just basically confirm to me that I'm accepting the warm-up and stretching assignment from Rose-Hulman CSSE 230. So I'm just going to hit accept the assignment, and then GitHub is going to tell me that I have accepted it, and we're just configuring things now, so it might take a few minutes to complete. It's probably going to take about a minute or two depending on how busy the servers is, so I'll just hit refresh a couple of times until it works. And this is it. It says you're ready to go. You have accepted the assignment. This accepting the invitation to Rose-Hulman CSSE 230 is a thing you have to do once. So you just have to click this link that has the invitation just once. I'm not going to do that because I'm already part of that institution. And then you can just go to your repo by accessing the assignment. And there you go. You have your own private repository that you could use to commit and push and do all of that and pull and do all of your normal GitHub operations. And it contains all of the files you need to get started. So now how we're going to do take that and put it into Eclipse or IntelliJ. You're going to go to the code tab and select HTTPS. If you have your SSH keys configured for GitHub, then you could use SSH just like you normally would. But for those of you who don't know what SSH keys are, I would just recommend that you copy the HTTPS link. And let's go ahead and start with Eclipse. I've already loaded it to avoid any load times, because I know Eclipse sometimes can take a while to load. So I'm just going to hit import project, projects from Git, and I'm going to have to specify the URI to be cloned. And there we go. Since I already copied the GitHub URL, Eclipse has already detected that it's a repo URL. It's plugged it in. These things are going to be automatically filled out for you. You just have to specify your email and password on the authentication tab. You can go ahead and click next. You don't have to do anything here. This specifies that you're working on the main branch, if you know what branches are. And then from here, you just have to be clicking next until you finish up, unless you want to change where the repo is going to be stored. For me, it's going to be under the Git directory, but for you, it can be anywhere you'd like to keep your files on. So just keep hitting next, and it's going to do the cloning, next, and finish. And you should start seeing now the assignment files in here. and the configuration should already be there, so you should not see any problems. You could start by, to make sure everything is working, open the anagram tests and file, and then select run as Junit Test. So it's gonna build your project and try to run this set of tests. This set of tests, of course, is gonna fail because we have not written any code yet, so it tells you that you have 0 of 7 points. But this just makes, if you see this setup, this outcome, this means that you have everything set up for, or everything is working for you to start coding and submitting your assignment. You can start by reading the specs on anagrams and start implementing it. Okay. And so this concludes what you need to do for Eclipse. If you're going to be using Eclipse, then you're good to go. If you prefer to use IntelliJ, then I'm going to walk you through how to do that in IntelliJ. One thing I would recommend, it depends on what you like, is to go to Configure, Plugins. I'm sorry about the notifications. If you're not using Idea Vim, then I recommend you use Idea Vim because I love Vim. And then go to GitHub, and then make sure you untick that plugin. The reason behind that is if you do have the GitHub plugin bundled in or selected, enabled, it's going to ask you to give JetBrains access to your entire GitHub account. I personally do not like that. I do not like giving institutions or organizations access for more than they actually need, which is just that repo. But if you're comfortable with that, you can just leave it in and sign in with your normally as you would do if you have GitHub linked to IntelliJ. So let's go ahead and get from version control. The URL is going to be the one we copied. There we go. Oops. Okay, so it's going to be C users, and then it's just going to be this is the directory where it's going to save my cloned repo. So we're just going to hit clone, and I already have that, so let's do clean that up and maybe reclone in that. There we go. So let's remove that and clone it again. Okay, so we're here now. Try that again, and it's gonna clone the repo into that directory. If you have not configured, if this is the first time you run you clone from GitHub, it's gonna ask you for your username and password, and you would just provide them as you would normally do. If you had already provided them from before, then it's probably gonna just launch pretty quickly, and then it's gonna take some time to load up the modules, and you should see the project showing on your left hand side in the project tab. My tablet is basically now screaming at me because I'm recording and doing a bunch of things at the same time, so hopefully you're not going to run into this problem. Your machine should be able to handle all of these things quite quickly, but as a tablet it's good enough that it's doing this. So you can go to source. Once we can go to source, okay, go. Hopefully we can open the source files at some point. It's doing some indexing here, and that's why it's taking quite some time. There we go. You're gonna see your files, work through them, and then open the anagram tests Java file, and you can go ahead and right click on it, and then run anagram tests. It's going to start building the assignment, and the output of IntelliJ is going to be a little bit different. It's going to put everything in the same screen, and it's going to have pointers to where the tests that have failed, and takes you basically links to the code in which the tests have failed, and then you have to scroll down to see basically the output of running this program. So we're going to be waiting for it to build. Hopefully it won't take too long. So let's cancel some of the background tasks to make sure we can just focus on the important stuff. Okay, so there we go. So we see here it's going to tell us that we have 7 of 7 tests failing. It's going to lie to us and say that it did it in 1 second and 500 milliseconds while we've been waiting for it for about half a minute. But basically you have to scroll down and see that the output says anagram points is 0 out of 7. And if you want to figure out which one of the tests have failed, then you can start by clicking on them, and it takes you there one by one. Okay, so one thing that might happen with IntelliJ is it might complain that JUnit cannot be found, and basically you can there's going to be a little pop-up that shows next to the JUnit line, and it tells you add JUnit to the class path, and that should configure everything automatically, and you should be good to go. Again, if you run into any problems, either in configuring it in Eclipse or in accepting the invites or in configuring IntelliJ, then please reach out to me or your TAs as soon as possible, and we can help you debug the problem and figure it out. So that's it for accepting the assignments and starting to work on them. We're going to be doing a very similar process for group projects with the added step that you must select who your group member is going to be. We'll discuss that when it's time for that. And with that being said, I'll see you guys soon.